11 lessons from teaching the Wim Hof Method for more than 11 years. I just recently retired myself from being an officially certified Wim Hof Method instructor. I started in the days when there was absolutely nothing. Not really detailed protocols, not that much science, only a group of trailblazers in combination with Wim and the organization teaching something that we all were strongly believing in. And after being retired, I came to the conclusion that I really never shared my personal lessons about being human leadership when it comes to the Wim Hof Method. Also, some side notes. I was responsible for training and teaching the new Wim Hof Method instructors. I was one of the first that took the Wim Hof Method with multiple events all over the world, from Iceland, Canada, Norway, Israel, Sweden. So I'm sharing here not the cognitive book knowledge, not even what is in the manuals for instructors, but really the lessons that I gained through the years. And just let's dive into it. So number one, it's not about regulating your nervous system, but about reconditioning it. Because nowadays on social media, you see a lot of people calling out like, we need to regulate our nervous system. But in a way, what our nervous system is doing is just responding in a way to the program that it has in relation to the external circumstances. So if I would put you in front of a group, your nervous system for most people will get triggered, activated, your heartbeat changing, the temperature in your body will change. So yeah, you can use the breath, for example, to regulate your nervous system. But what I invite you to do is explore about reprogramming your nervous system, because there are a set of beliefs, maybe created experiences in your mind, because we don't have a fully detailed archived as it actually was in the past. It's just a interpreted reconstruction that is a prediction for the upcoming and the long-term future. So if we can rewrite the programming, that is way stronger than just regulating it. That was number one. Number two is we want all like to have confidence. Preferably like open up this can, just like Popeye, getting my spinach in and then having confidence. But that's not how it is. And that's also not how confidence is being developed. Like for me personally, going in the cold after 12-ish years now, I still don't like it. And then one day is better than the other. But I have an archive full of mostly positive experiences and outcomes that I know that when I go past the discomfort, I feel amazing and I have a beautiful experience. And that is confidence, like having that archive with good outcomes. But before building the archive, it's more like a muscle. You have the fear of not really wanting to do something. You do it anyway. You come out at the other end and you've gained a first piece of confidence. And it doesn't, of course, not only relate to the Wim Hof Method or extreme conditions like climbing the mountains, or what I did for many years, but really also being in the boardroom or showing up at a family meeting. You feel maybe those things like, I'm not really confident. And the third one, and this is also an important one, is that without continuously awareness, a habit becomes empty. I see so many people doing their breath work daily, doing their meditation, doing their journaling, going into the cold, and I just check off their marks like I did the activity. But if awareness is not present in the activity, then it becomes an empty habit. And that doesn't mean it's not good for you, but potentially, and it has the potential to lose many of the benefits. For example, I had one client through the years, like he had an inflammation related condition, and he went with us abroad doing a 5-day course. And at the end of the week, his condition really went into a rested state, medication went down, and he felt amazing. But after 2 years, he called me and I said, hey, it's back. And I asked this person what he was doing, and he was still doing exactly what he was doing, what he had learned 2 years ago. So in a way, he goes into autopilot. There is no awareness, there is no change. And then things lose their profound power. Next one, number 4. Knowing something or understanding something is different than embodying it. Like through the years, teaching cold exposure or teaching climbing mountains in extreme conditions. So many people, they go in their mind, they have the predictions, and they're going to raise their hands and asking a lot of questions because they want to know and they want to understand in a way to create a fake level of safety that they're creating within themselves. But the thing is, just like with confidence, you can talk a lot about things and understand things, know things, but it's not the experience itself. So when you truly go through an experience, you start to embody it. It's a little bit like you can buy every men's course out there or a course around tennis and you go through all the modules. But if there is not, let's say, the first steps after knowledge, and that is integration, then you will never reach the part after that, and that is embodiment. So at a certain point, and I remember meeting Wim for the first time, and I asked about the mindset in those days. And the one thing that he said, and that was the only thing about what was available in those times, just do it. And I said, hey, but this is a slogan that is from Nike. We can't, in a way, use that. But through the years, I realized that he was right, because we can talk a lot about climbing a mountain. We can talk a lot about cold exposure, but you need to do it to gain the experience and build the confidence. And this is more from a professional perspective when it comes to teaching, training, and inspiring. Teaching from the heart, only the heart, is a bad idea. There's a slogan in some communities like teaching from the heart. That's the way to go. You don't need really educational part or skill level building. No, you just need to go through an experience and you can just reproduce that experience and just share it from the heart, because then it's okay. But that is not true. I've seen it happening over and over again, that teaching from the heart is not enough. It's a little bit like going into surgery. I have my surgery and I have the experience, and hey, I will do surgery from the heart. Here's my knife. And then you hope everything is fine. I wouldn't be really confident with that. So why wouldn't the same apply when it comes to personal development, spiritual development, leadership development? Somebody going through an experience, teaching from the heart, it's not enough. What I would like to propose is teaching with the heart. So you build a set of skills. You learn presentation skills if you're in front of a group. You learn about how the mind works. You learn how to ask questions. You learn how to frame stuff in a way that it builds physical and emotional safety for you and the people that you're teaching. Then you have on one side the professional developed skill set, and on the other side, teaching with the heart instead of from the heart, and it will change everything. So for me, if somebody's saying, I'm teaching from the heart, that's a red flag. I would like to really dive into that. There's also a difference between an inspirator and a teacher. And one of my biggest inspirators for many, many years was Wim. He did some amazing things and he has my deepest respect. His family has my deepest respect for what they built. But I'm also always transparent. I always said Wim is an amazing inspirator and not the best teacher. Because a teacher is not only inspiring the people, but he is also able to create structure. Because structure creates safety, and from safety, exploration is possible. So there's that separation. And when you go somewhere, always be aware, is this person just an inspiration? Is it a teacher? Or can he do both, or she? The next one, every time is a new experience. Our mind, what I already mentioned before, is a little bit of an archive with pieces of information, and it helps us to predict for the present moment and the future. But the information is never fully complete. So we are basing the present moment, evaluating the present moment and the upcoming moment, the future, on incomplete information. So if I have a great experience going into the cold yesterday, today can be a shitty experience because I wake up differently every day. I feel differently every day. My mind or my nervous system is different every day. Maybe there are a lot of racing thoughts. I can't really connect with myself. And then my experience is less. So every time, treat an experience like this, going to the gym, going to a presentation, leading a group, being there for your partner as it's like the first time, because that helps us to open up our mind, open up the filters in our brain. And with that, we can notice more things and we develop a respect going into that new time. In a way, it also, you will always be then a student instead like, hey, I know it all. Every time after teaching personal development and leadership for more than 12 years, I have that little voice inside of my head says, yeah, I think I had it all. There's a totally new experience and it is new again. Another one, next one, see it in your mind and it becomes real. Even with around the Wim Hof Method, there is science that we can top-down regulate ourselves. And that means that if we can click in to an experience in our mind, our body will follow. And it doesn't mean there's a separation between the mind and the body. It's like one system. But if you see an attractive male or female, what your preferences are, the body has a physical reaction to that. Again, if you be asked to stand in front of a group with me, and in your mind, you create an image that you will lose the things that you want to say, your train of thought, or you, in your mind, or maybe an internal dialogue, you say, hey, I'm not really good in speaking in front of groups, then that becomes real because we start to feel nervous. Our body is then reacting to what we are seeing in our mind's eye. But what we're seeing in our mind's eye is not the complete truth. It's not the only choice. There is more choice. So when I started cold exposure, I had the experience sometimes that when I got out of the cold, I would be shivering. And I remember one of the conversations I had with Wim asking for tips and advice, because as a man, I always want to know the how-to, the tactical stuff. And he said, just imagine visualizing yourself coming out of the cold and not shivering anymore. And to be honest, I was really skeptic about it, but it changed everything for me. From that point on, I always choose to be aware what's going on internally with my mind, how my body is reacting, visualizing myself going through a process. And nowadays, it became more mainstream because pro athletes all over the world, they rehearse mentally every move they make. On Netflix, there is a beautiful documentary over demonstration fighter jet people. They are flying in amazing patterns and they just move with their body, closing their eyes, seeing every turn in their mind's eye and moving through it perfectly. So becoming aware, and this is really important, becoming aware of what's going on internally helps us to add more choice. The first step for change in whatever it is in life is awareness. Let's go to the next one. We're free to go. The principle of conquering through surrendering. I remember my first time going into the cold. I even have a photo of that. I was like, hey, I'm a bodybuilder in that time. I'm a man. I'm just going to jump in and I will conquer the cold. But the moment I got in, to be honest, I lost. Because cold and the elements and nature is always stronger than I am. And of course, I can, let's say, trooper myself through that moment, holding myself, moving through it. But at a certain point, nature and those elements will always win. And I've seen it over and over again. Most of the times, to be honest, they're men and they want to go in first because, then getting over with it. Let me go in. Those were always the most challenging people. So what is then the other way? That is surrendering. Conquering through surrendering. If you expose yourself to the cold and you choose surrender, then things are changing. Like the cold will always win and I just use my body and my breath and I'm relaxed and I'm going into that deep relaxation. The cold on the outside is still there, but I just choose to surrender to it. It's in a way saying yes to the situation. And then you can be with the situation instead of fighting it. And that's what most people do in their everyday life. Something externally happens and they try to control it. And focusing all that energy in the control is the hardest thing that we can do as a human being. So, conquering through surrendering. Next one. And that is that we're stronger together. And that's nice in a personal development book or maybe a corporate meeting or a corporate retreat. Like we can do more together. But I've seen it happen in nature, in real harsh conditions that, for example, on day one, somebody goes into the cold in nature, a maximum of 2 minutes, and they need to get out. And it's just really suffering. But then, for example, on day two, they go in as a whole group, 15 people or 20 people, and they go in as a group and going in as a group in nature and going out, having everything organized, really streamlined, almost like an organization or a corporate. Like they go in and the time that it takes to go in all together, being fully in the cold and getting out, most of the time it was around 7-ish minutes, depending a little bit on the location. So day one, maximum of 2 minutes, really suffering. Day two, as a group, instead of being alone, as a group, they can do it for 7 minutes. And they feel amazing. And they take care of each other. So taking care of each other allows us to be stronger together. And then also the last one is be dynamic. Like when I started out with cold exposure, I was all about exposing myself to the elements, to the cold, going into the cold water every time. I had people around me doing the same thing, even getting rid of their central heating, always exposing themselves to the stressor of cold. But if we see it a little bit as our internal nature, we need stress and we need the relaxation, just like outside nature. We need maybe sun and we need rain so that everything can be fertile and grow. If you're only on one side, you're not dynamic. So what I'm proposing here is be dynamic and expose yourself to hardship, to cold, but also relax and be in the warmth. Go for an intense workout, but also do nothing so that you become dynamic. And it's not even A, B. You can also, instead of going for the workout of really doing nothing, just doing some yoga, maybe some relaxed yoga, so that you have a little bit of the middle ground. So there is way more possible than we think. And I would like to close this tribute to my 11 plus years in teaching the Wim Hof Method, teaching cold exposure, with a story that hopefully opens up the mind. I remember one of the stories when I met Wim in the first years, like he always told me it's impossible to climb a mountain with 60 people, 100 people in extreme conditions and doing it as one group. And he was 100% convinced that it wasn't possible. But I believed differently. I have a lot of respect for Wim, and also in that time, I had a lot of respect for him, but I was like, but what if this isn't true? What if there is another way of doing things? So me and my colleagues on the ground were like, let's take on this challenge and explore a different way of doing things, training people to be as one compact team, taking care of each other, having buddy systems in place. And I remember the first time that we trained people up, and Wim was also joining us for that hike. And we reached the mountain as one group, one family, one set of people taking care of each other. And that gave me, Wim, and the people around us an update that there was more possible. And if we take that to our own lives, and that's why I'm making this video, that there is way more possible than you're thinking right now. If you think it is not possible, then it's not possible. But if you do the work, if you take care of each other, come with a group together, having those different perspectives, and realizing that there is more possible, life can change instantly. Thank you so much for listening. And this is my tribute to all of those wonderful experiences that I had through all the years within the Wim Hof Method, with Wim, with his family, with all the amazing instructors, with all my amazing students through the years. And just leave a little reply. Love you all, and a big hug.